It happened quietly, almost unexpectedly. Dakota Johnson, known for her poise and enigmatic calm, sat across from the interviewer on a late-night talk show, a setting she'd been in countless times before. The questions were routine at first: her new film, her fashion line, her upcoming projects. But then, as it always seems to happen, the conversation turned to 50 Shades of Grey, and to Jamie Dornan. The host smiled mischievously. "You and Jamie practically defined on-screen chemistry for a generation," he said. "Be honest. What's the real story between you two? Fans still believe there's something more." Dakota laughed softly, shaking her head as if brushing away a memory. But her eyes told a different story. "Oh, Jamie," she murmured, her voice trailing off for a second before she looked up again. "There's a bond between us that no one will ever understand." The studio went silent. The interviewer froze mid-smile. It wasn't the kind of answer anyone expected. It wasn't rehearsed, or coy, or sarcastic. It was real, and in that brief pause, something unspoken passed through the room, the kind of truth that doesn't need explanation. Within hours, that one sentence set the internet ablaze. Dakota Johnson confirms secret bond with Jamie Dornan, flooded every news outlet and social media feed. Fans dissected the clip frame by frame, her tone, her hesitation, the subtle smile that followed. Some said it was nostalgia. Others called it confession. But the truth was, Dakota hadn't planned to say it. The words slipped out, born from years of carrying a story she'd never put into words. Because what she and Jamie shared wasn't ordinary. It wasn't a simple friendship or fleeting Hollywood connection. It was something built in silence, in trust, in the raw vulnerability of two people who had to bear everything, physically and emotionally, in front of the entire world. Back when 50 Shades of Grey first began, they were both walking into the unknown. Dakota was fearless but untested, while Jamie was wary, a husband and father stepping into a role that blurred the line between reality and fiction. From the very first day on set, they realized they would need more than chemistry to survive it. They would need absolute trust. "It was like stepping into a storm together," Dakota once said. "No one else could understand what that experience did to us." They spent years working side by side, rehearsing, shooting, laughing, comforting each other through awkward scenes and intense criticism. The world watched them as a fantasy, but behind the cameras, it was something entirely different. They became each other's anchor, when the pressure was too much, when the headlines were cruel, when the roles demanded too much of their souls. In interviews during that time, Dakota often described Jamie as protective, while he called her fearless. But what the public didn't see were the quiet moments, the inside jokes, the shared exhaustion after endless days of filming, the silent understanding in their eyes when words weren't enough. And now, years later, sitting under those bright studio lights, Dakota couldn't help but let that truth slip. "Jamie has been more than just a co-star to me," she said after a pause, her voice low but clear. "We went through something very intense together. It changed us." The interviewer blinked, unsure how to respond. "Changed you? How?" he asked carefully. Dakota smiled, a little wistful, a little protective. "We just understand each other," she replied. "It's like we lived a whole lifetime in those years, and even though everything ended, a part of that connection never went away." She stopped there, but the damage, or perhaps the magic, was already done. That night, clips of her statement went viral. Fans filled comment sections with heart emojis, throwback photos, and theories. Was it love, friendship, something in between? The answer, as always with Dakota and Jamie, was never simple. Back in London, Jamie's phone lit up with messages from friends and colleagues. "Have you seen what Dakota said about you?" He watched the clip alone, expression unreadable. But when she said the words, "a bond no one will ever understand," a faint smile crossed his face. It wasn't shock. It wasn't discomfort. It was recognition. Because whatever that bond was, friendship, connection, or something deeper left unspoken, it had always been real. And now, for the first time, the world finally knew it too. As one fan perfectly commented under the viral video. It's not a love story. It's something rarer. A connection that never needed to be defined. The next morning, the world was still buzzing. Every entertainment outlet ran the same clip of Dakota Johnson, her voice calm but filled with something unexplainable. There's a bond between us that no one will ever understand. Those 12 words became the headline of the day. Reporters called it a confession. Fans called it proof. But to Dakota, it was simply honesty, something she had kept guarded for nearly a decade. In the days that followed, Dakota avoided interviews. She didn't clarify, didn't retract, didn't play into the headlines. Instead, she let the silence speak for itself. But behind closed doors, she finally reached out to the one person who understood what that sentence truly meant, Jamie Dornan. According to a close source, Dakota sent him a short message. "I think the world finally knows what we've known all along." Jamie's reply came just minutes later. "They'll still never understand it." And he was right. When asked about Dakota's comments during a press junket for his new series, Jamie smiled, shaking his head. "That sounds like her," he said fondly. Dakota has this way of saying something simple that somehow becomes the most dramatic headline in the world. But then, after a pause, he added softly, "She's not wrong, though." The interviewer leaned forward, sensing something genuine behind his words. "So, there is a bond between you two?" Jamie didn't deny it. "There's trust," he said. "And trust is rare in this business. We built something that helped us survive a pretty intense experience. It's not something you just forget." That quiet confirmation sent shockwaves once again. For years, fans had speculated about what truly existed between them, but hearing both Jamie and Dakota acknowledge that connection for the first time gave the speculation weight. Hollywood loves labels, romance, friendship, scandal, rivalry, but Jamie and Dakota had always existed outside of those boundaries. What they shared wasn't romantic in the conventional sense. It was deeper, quieter, unshakable. During an interview with Vanity Fair a week later, Dakota was asked again about her statement. This time, she didn't deflect. "You go through something like 50 Shades, she said, "and it changes you. We were young, we were exposed, and we had to rely on each other completely. There were days when it was just him and me against the world. That kind of thing, it stays with you." She smiled faintly, remembering. "Jamie and I have seen each other at our most vulnerable. We've seen fear, exhaustion, laughter, tears, all of it. You can't fake that kind of closeness." Then, almost as if speaking to herself, she added, "It's not about love, not the way people want it to be. It's about respect. It's about two people who walked through fire together and came out still standing." Her words struck a chord. Fans flooded social media with old photos, behind-the-scenes clips, and interviews that suddenly carried new meaning. The glances, the quiet smiles, the way they seemed to read each other's thoughts, everything looked different now. Jamie later expanded on Dakota's statement in his own quiet, reflective way. "We were both thrown into something huge," he said. "Millions of people watched us, judged us, imagined things about us. The only person who truly understood what that felt like was Dakota. I'll always be grateful to her for that." Then he said something that stopped everyone in their tracks. "She knows a part of me that no one else ever will." It wasn't a love confession. It was something more powerful, an acknowledgement of connection beyond definition. For Dakota, hearing Jamie's words brought peace. "He's right," she told a friend later. "There's a version of us that only existed during those years, and no matter what happens, that version is still ours." When they reunited months later at a private charity gala, photographers captured the moment instantly. Jamie and Dakota spotted each other across the room, and before anyone could blink, they were hugging, a genuine, effortless embrace. The crowd erupted in applause, flashes of cameras filled the air, but they didn't care. For a moment, it was just them, two old friends, bound by something no headline could ever capture. Later, as they walked in opposite directions, someone called out, "Dakota. Jamie, what is this bond you keep talking about?" Dakota turned briefly, her trademark smirk back in place. "Whatever you think it is," she said, "it's probably something deeper." And with that, she walked away, leaving the world buzzing once again, wondering, dreaming, hoping to understand what they both already knew. Some connections aren't meant to be explained. They're meant to be felt, quietly, fiercely, and forever.